When it comes to making a movie franchise, or in this case, making a sequel that's part of a franchise, you might not want to disrespect the person who probably created that franchise, okay? For example, I like Star Wars. I actually like the prequels and the original trilogy. Now, personally, for me, I think the sequel trilogy is trash. Because the characters are not relatable. I don't like them. I don't feel like there's any character arc. Rey, she doesn't struggle at all. So I can't feel. I don't see the need to cheer her on when she's fighting Kylo Ren or when she's fighting an enemy. Because you want to know why? I know she's gonna win. She's perfect in every step of the way. Therefore, there's no character arc. There's no flaw. I know she's gonna win. There's no tension there. Look at Luke Skywalker, for example. Luke Skywalker, he's a son of is the son of the strongest, in this case probably the most potentially strongest force user in the history of Star Wars, right? But Luke was flawed. When he started training, he struggled. When the first time he fought Darth Vader, Luke lost. He ended up getting his hand chopped off in The Empire Strikes Back. Okay? Now, if the original trilogy was made in 2019, I guarantee you that if Rey was swapped with Luke, okay? Again, imagine the original trilogy was made in 2019, and instead of Luke, we get Rey. I guarantee you, Rey would have beaten Darth Vader in her first fight in The Empire Strikes Back, kind of like she beat Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens, okay? With little to no training, and by the end of the trilogy, she ends up being a stronger Jedi than Yoda, okay? You see what I mean? Like, when you're making a franchise, you do not want to go against the person who created it. In this case, George Lucas for Star Wars, you do not want to go and tear everything he did and tear it apart. You can't do that. Why? Because you're pretty much insulting the creator of the franchise you're trying to feed off of like a leech, and at the same time you're also pissing off the fans who grew up with that original concept. Okay? Now, Terminator Dark Fate, personally, I like the first one. I thought the second one was better than the first. I thought the third one was okay, not better than the second one? Definitely not. But as Genesis came out, as Salvation came out, as Dark Fate came out, Terminator 3 looks like a masterpiece compared to these three failed sequels, right? Now, apparently, each movie was supposed to start a new trilogy, right? Salvation was supposed to initiate a new trilogy. Same thing with when that failed. Genesis was to be the new start of a new trilogy, right? That failed. Now, Dark Fate was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy, and that failed. Personally, I call this the failed sequel reboot, trilogy, right? The failed trilogy. That's what I call them. The failed trilogy, because all these movies were projected to make a new story, and yet for some reason they failed. All of them did. Salvation, hardly anyone liked it. I mean, I thought it was okay. It wasn't the best. Genesis was a huge mistake. They ended up making Emilia Clarke. Like, Emilia Clarke wasn't convincing as a young Sarah Connor, personally. At the same time, they made my boy John Connor into a T-3000. I thought the T-3000 was awesome, personally. But the fact that it was John Connor and they literally spit on the face of the fans of the Terminator franchise by making John Connor the villain, I was like, you know what? Nah, I'm good. I like the T-3000, though. I thought the T-3000 was pretty cool, right? But I didn't like the idea that it was John Connor. And then in this case, Terminator Dark Fate, guess what? John Connor is supposed to be the important character in the entire franchise, right? That is why they sent a Terminator to kill Sarah Connor in the first one, and that's why they sent a T-1000 to kill John Connor in the second one, right? Now in Terminator 3, obviously, they sent a TX to kill John Connor, Catherine Brewster, etc. But forget 3 for a minute, okay? Because this one's a sequel to Terminator 2, the actual sequel. So what happens, right? We're made to believe, the fans, like myself, we're made to believe that Terminator 2 and Terminator 1, that John Connor is the key. He's the one who's going to save humanity, right? So what does Terminator Dark Fate do? They kill him in the first 5 minutes. So, again, you're probably watching this. Like I said, I'm sorry if I did spoil this for you, but I'm pretty sure you guys weren't even going to watch it anyways. But like I said, spoiler alert, it's already late. But again, I'll repeat it again. Spoiler alert, they killed John Connor in the first 5 minutes. I didn't watch the movie. I actually read the whole plot in Wikipedia. And when I saw that they killed John Connor in 5 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, I wasn't going to watch it anyways, right? So what do? What does Tim Miller do? Well, instead of blaming it on his crappy, director skills, because, we also have to remember this is the same guy who got kicked off of Deadpool 2, because he tried to question the masterpiece of a mind that is Ryan Reynolds when it comes to Deadpool. I mean, Ryan Reynolds, he got screwed over in X-Men Origins Wolverine when it came to Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds had even expressed actual hatred for his portrayal of Deadpool in X-Men Origins. So I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't want to mess it up again. So when it comes to Ryan Reynolds, I expect you to not question this guy's ability to create a character that he actually loves, okay? So Tim Miller ended up getting fired from Deadpool 2. So now he's blaming James Cameron. You know, the guy who created the masterpieces that are Terminator 1 and 2? Yeah, you don't do that. Kind of like Disney when they're insulting George Lucas for the creation of a masterpiece known as the original trilogy. And obviously, prequel trilogy is not a masterpiece, but they're pretty good. I still watch them. You know what I mean? So, why do that? Because they have too much of an ego. They do not want to admit it. Now, Tim Miller, I wouldn't be surprised if he can't get a job anymore. Because when you get kicked off of a movie, such as Deadpool 2, because you can't work with anyone. When you make a failed movie, even though you have James Cameron working with you, it kind of shows you that you are not as good as you think you are. At the same time, too, no one wants to hire anyone that can't get along with others. That goes for any job. McDonald's, Microsoft, Apple, doesn't matter. If you cannot work with people, you are not going to last in that business. Tim Miller clearly can't work with anyone. He got an argument with Ryan Reynolds. He got an argument with James Cameron. Now, obviously, James Cameron has been doing some really stupid stuff when it comes to women empowerment movies and all that stuff like that. Honestly, at this point, if Avatar 2 comes out, I'm not going to watch it. I waited for the sequel for 10 years, and it still hasn't shown up. And you know what, dude? I don't care about Avatar 2 anymore. The hype died down, okay? But also, too, with Wonder Woman, saying, oh, Wonder Woman is still a step backwards for women. I'm thinking, dude, shut up, right? But again, I like James Cameron for the Terminator movies. 1 and 2, specifically. Those are freaking awesome, okay? But clearly, again, Tim Miller has a huge ego and seems like he cannot work with anyone. So I'm going to read a part of this article, and then I'm going to show you, and then also after that, I'm going to talk to you about how you make a movie that even though it's some degree has some aspects, even though it doesn't have to be diverse in many cases, that, what the heck happened? Let's see. This thing, okay, there we go, okay. Just refresh a bit. Anyway, so like I said, so I'm going to read a part of this article, and after that I'm going to talk to you about a movie that I actually watched recently that I haven't seen in years, but it still hits me. It's still going to get the masterpiece of a movie from DreamWorks. I don't know how they went from this movie to Boss Baby, but anyways, like I said, I'm going to show you how you can make a good movie where it can be just about, let's say, a religious idea or something like that, and it can still be good. It can still be good for everyone, right? Terminator Dark Fate, clearly, they pandered too much to the left, and now it's failed. It really did. They pander too much for a specific demographic, and I'm not saying that either. Like I said, when you pander to a specific group, or it's a movie about a specific group, that's not the problem. But when you say we do not want these certain people watching this, or we do not want these certain people watching this, or we only want these people to watch it, you're kind of saying, you know what, this movie is not for you, and you do not want to do that, especially in a business. Okay, let's read. Terminator Dark Fate director Tim Miller says he'll never work with James Cameron again. The highly anticipated direct sequel to Terminator 2 Judgment Day is still struggling at the box office, and then I don't see how it's highly anticipated then. Fans of the franchise were excited to hear that James Cameron was back with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton, but the idea ended up being better than the movie as a whole. Miller and Cameron clashed many times during the making of the movie, and the director still has trauma. How do you have trauma, dude, that James Cameron ended up taking you to a secret room and did some nasty stuff? Dude, grow the hell up, man. Grow the hell up. It's James Cameron, dude. This guy knows more about his own franchise than you, okay? It's like asking a white liberal about what's the problem with the black community, and then instead of asking an actual member of the black community, right? You go to the white liberal and says, what's the problem with the black community? And the person was like, oh, all right, so this, and this. Instead of asking the actual person who's part of the community, right? It's kind of like that. If you think you know better than Cameron, dude, then start your own franchise. But if you're making a movie and a franchise that was made by James Cameron, the creator of this franchise, you might not want to question them, dude. You might not. You might actually want to take his ideas into consideration, okay? So anyway, so let's see. According to James Cameron, the Terminator Dark Fate editing process was a down-and-out bloodbath. James Cameron revealed that there was drama behind the scenes of Terminator Dark Fate in a recent interview. He claims that he did not like Tim Miller's original cut and said the arguments turned into a bloodbath. And as it turns out, Miller would have to agree, and when asked whether or not he'd work with Cameron again, he says that's a no, Tim Miller explains. And then obviously this is what, I think this is a quote from Miller. He says, I can say no, but it has nothing to do with whatever trauma I have from the experience. It's more that I just don't want to be in a situation again where I don't have the control to do what I think is right. I just got an email last week from Jim who said, I know we clashed a little bit. I put it all down to two strong creative people with differences of opinion, and I think it made the movie better. I'll be back in LA in December. Let's go get a beer. A beer might be able to solve the problems with James Cameron and Tim Miller's differences. However, it will not make up for a box office and critical failure of the movie. Miller is still fighting for the movie because it has his name on it. When all is said and done, the sequel has his name attached, and even though he did not have a final say during the time of the release, the director felt that the Terminator franchise had become tainted. Now, weeks after its release, he says this. Even though Jim is a producer and Skydance's David Ellison is a producer, and they technically have final cut and ultimate power, my name is still on it as director. Even though I'm going to lose the fight, I still feel this obligation to fight, because that is what the director's supposed to do, fight for the movie. And like I said, you can read the rest of the article as well. There isn't anything much, again, just drama created differences. But like I said, this guy will never get another job in Hollywood. Oh, okay, seriously, ads, really? You can't? Okay, anyways, so, like I said, this guy will never get another job. Not only is he tied to a failure of a movie, which is a very popular franchise, a very well-known franchise. Like, literally, like, if you were to show a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, most people will say, oh, that's the guy who was in the Terminator, right? A lot of people know this franchise a lot, especially me. I know this franchise. I was actually heartbroken when Salvation, Genesis, and this movie were starting. Really, again, we're going third time's a charm, and apparently it's not, right? So, what happens next? I don't think Tim Miller's going to get another job. Might do some smaller films, but things like Terminator, that's not going to happen. He can't work with anyone. He can't even work with the man who made this franchise. It wasn't even supposed to be a franchise, apparently. I think even James Cameron said it wasn't intended to. But you're talking about arguing with the man who made the Terminator and the Terminator 2. Both movies that are masterpieces to a lot of people. And you're arguing with that person? Really? Really, it's like you're arguing with a black person, saying what the real problems of black community are when you're not even a member of the black community. You know what I mean? Or when someone goes to me and says, "Oh, I know what the problems with the Hispanic community are," and they're not even part of the Hispanic community, right? See what I mean? So when you're arguing with the creator of Terminator 1 and 2, it kind of shows you that, first of all, you have a big ego. Second, that means you cannot work with anyone. And no one wants to hire anyone that cannot work well with others. There's a difference, sure. There's arguments sometimes, but if it's a consistent thing with you, no one's gonna want to hire you. So, anyways, let's look at the idea of a Terminator. Right now, personally, if I were to rewrite the Terminator, at least Dark Fate, this is how I would write it to make sure that it's relatable to everyone. Okay, let's say Terminator Dark Fate. Same beginning. John Connor and Sarah Connor are relaxing at the beach, but the T-800 never shows up. That kind of shows that, you know what, it's over, we're done, at least we think it's over, right? And then we're looking at 20 years later, like around 2020, apparently it takes place in 2020. John Connor, he's a businessman or someone successful, right? The guy's, he runs his own business, or probably, like even in the end of Terminator 2, like the extended cut, where John Connor's actually a U.S. Senator. Let's go with that then. He's a U.S. Senator. He's a politician, right? He's living a good life. Sarah Connor is living a good life, right, as well. John Connor has his family, stuff like that. But it turns out that the threat is still looming. Now, Skynet never existed, but apparently technology is still bound to create a new threat. In this case, let's add Legion into this, right? Legion has been created in the future, but John Connor at this point is dead. Legion popped up years into the future, right? Where John Connor is already dead. He died of natural diseases, stuff like that. And then we have a successor character. In this case, Danny Ramos. But Danny Ramos isn't the leader of the resistance against Legion. She's actually the grandmother of the individual, right? Of the individual who's going to be the leader of the resistance, right? So Legion sends back the Rev 9 to kill Danny Ramos, and the resistance, in this case, the granddaughter of Danny Ramos, sends back, you know, what was her name? What was that girl's name? I forgot that chick's name. I know it's Mackenzie Davis, but the point is she sends that female Terminator, right? The female Terminator, or whatever Terminator hybrid that was. And then she goes to protect him. Danny Ramos has no idea what the hell is going on. So her and her protector cross into the United States, where John Connor is at the border trying to do some campaigning or stuff like that. And then he finds out what's going on with Danny Ramos. Now, at first he's hesitant, because again, he's a senator, right? He is a senator. He doesn't want to ruin his career. But he sees the importance of this. They tell her, obviously, the protector of Danny Ramos tells John, you're not alive at this point. You passed away way before Legion even came up, right? But John Connor, knowing the responsibility that he had as the future protector of humanity, he feels like it's his duty to prepare Danny Ramos for what's to come. So he decides to take some time away from his campaigning and help her, train her, teach her how to use weapons. And that's where Sarah Connor comes in as well. Teach her, train her, so she can be prepared to teach her daughter, and then, in this case, her granddaughter, to fight the machines known from Legion, pretty much, right? Such as the Rev 9. That's how I would have made it. The successor character being trained by the legacy characters. That way, when, obviously, John Connor is no longer there, The new character is already, you know, like, they're passing on the torch, right? John Connor's passing the torch to Danny Ramos. In this case, it never happened that way. It was pretty much stolen, right? It was pretty much stolen. They killed John Connor, he drops the torch, and then Danny Ramos just picks it up. She doesn't even get the blessing from John Connor, right? That's how I would have written it. John Connor pretty much prepares Danny Ramos for what's to come. Because at that point, John Connor, Legion comes up, John Connor's already dead, right? He passed away of natural illness and stuff like that, right? But like I said, a really relatable movie, at least. Doesn't have to appeal to anyone. If you want to include some diversity, sure, go ahead. But do not put that as a priority over a story. Here's a good example of a good story that also has good cultural references. Recently, I watched The Prince of Egypt on Hulu. I was actually looking for movies. I was surprised it had The Prince of Egypt. Like, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. Now, The Prince of Egypt talks about the Exodus, right? Moses and how he freed the Israelites from Egypt. I'm not religious by any means. Like, I'm not religious. I don't go to church or anything like that. So I'm thinking, why would I watch The Prince of Egypt? Why would I like The Prince of Egypt? I even liked it as a kid. But I'm thinking, why do I like it? The music is fantastic. The story is appealing. It's a really well-written story. Now, I'm not religious by any means, but I like the animation. I like the voice acting. I like the score. Hans Zimmer, magnificent composer. Okay, so that's why I like the movie. It's not appealing to me as a religious movie, right? But I still love it either way. I've already seen it like twice already since it's on my free time, because the movie is just powerful. Like, it really is. If you have Hulu, look up Prince of Egypt, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend you do. Good story. You don't have to be religious to watch it. It's a very powerful movie, dude, and it still gets me. Even the beginning of the movie, the two scenes that always get me, that gives me goosebumps and sends chills down my spine, is the introduction of the movie of Prince of Egypt, and when they're the 10 plagues, when God starts sending the 10 plagues towards Egypt. I'm thinking, man, this is awesome, right? The animation's top notch, and it was like in the 90s. I think it was like a 90s movie, right? But that's how you make a good movie, where you add cultural artifacts, in this case the Jewish religion, right? The Hebrews, right? The culture, how they dance, how they sing, how what they wear. I like that, honestly. It's good. It's good to have diversity. But when you prioritize diversity over a good story, it makes you look bad. In this case, they prioritize diversity, a protagonist that's female and Hispanic, a female Terminator hybrid, a female Rev 9 as an antagonist. That's good. I don't care. But the problem is they prioritize that and use that as a marketing tactic rather than the story itself. That's why this movie failed. That's why most movies nowadays always fail. There's a reason why it's called Get Woke, Go Broke. When you prioritize diversity and inclusivity over an actual good story, your movie's gonna suck. But let me know what you guys think about this. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Hit the notification button as well. That way you never miss an upload. And if you're a return subscriber, just barely subscribe, bookmark the page, because some of your notifications will go directly to spam, meaning you won't be properly notified. So check on it on a daily basis. And if you do not wish to do any of these things, but you think this video is worthy of sharing, share with your friends. Share with your friends and family on social media. You know, that helps out a lot. It helps me bypass all the restrictions that YouTube has implemented on the independent political commentary. But let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think Tim Miller's going to get another job in Hollywood? What do you agree with my argument in the sense that inclusivity and diversity is okay as long as you don't prioritize that over a good story? Like, again, the Prince of Egypt is a good example. An exposure to a culture, diverse characters, well-written characters, but the story is more important than the smaller details, right? The big picture is more important. In this case, for Tim Miller, the smaller pictures, the smaller details were much more important than the actual story. And do you guys agree with my idea of Dark Fate, where John Connor is a senator at this point, but he feels like he has the need to train Danny Ramos because Legion is going to pop up in the next 20, 30 years, and she is the grandmother of the resistance leader, yada yada yada, right? Okay, then do you guys agree with my version of Terminator Dark Fate, or at least how I would have written it? Because again, I think there was like a spit on the face to the fans of Terminator. Me included. I never saw the movie. I never saw this one. I just read the spoilers on Wikipedia. But it goes to show you that I didn't really care for so much about this movie, because it didn't seem appealing to me. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'll see you guys at a later time. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day or night, depending on where you are in the time zones. Right? I'll see you guys next time.